welcome to the BEASTwriter Family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be discussing the Cotton Bowl and the college football playoff between Alabama, Roll Tide Roll, my squad, against Cincinnati, a non-Power 5 conference in the American. So there's a lot of discussion as to whether or not Cincinnati even should have made it in the first place, because this is the first time in history since the inception of the college football playoff that a non-Power 5 conference has made this playoff. And look, I guess you can play a little bit of devil's advocate here and say, well, they ain't playing a Power 5, so the strength of schedule wasn't as strong, so therefore they shouldn't be in it. But, you know, Cincinnati can't choose who they play or who they don't play. I mean, whoever's on their schedule, they win. So at the end of the day, I think this was the right move to make. I think Cincinnati should be in there. But again, it's up for debate. I mean, you can argue both ways. But hey, this is where we are today. We're going to go ahead and break it down brick by brick as it pertains to the 2022 NFL Draft. A lot of you guys were asking me yesterday about Sauce Gardner and what he brings to the table and why I like him so much and why, you know, he's graded so highly. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about some of these other depth piece players that, you know, may not get a lot of hype, but you guys should definitely be on the lookout for these guys because they're going to make an impact in tomorrow's game. And I'll tell you exactly how it's going to play out when it comes to each of their respective games. So without further ado, I just want to go ahead and say thank you to each and every one of you for following and subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you have yet to do so and you're watching on Facebook and some of these other social media outlets, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you'll be entered for our BEASTwriter Family giveaways. Also, if you noticed, you see that right here, we have super chat and super stickers. Received a lot of those yesterday, especially on Twitter, with Venmo being linked to my account. And obviously, you can, if you guys have Twitter, you guys would know there's a money icon, and I've been getting some Venmo payments from there. So donations and tips is what they call it on Twitter. On YouTube, obviously, they call it a super chat or super sticker. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I wouldn't be here without you guys in my corner. So mahalo for the love. I do want to remind you guys before we get started, if you guys do like my work, please give it a thumbs up. It really does me a solid. So go ahead and do that if you guys don't mind. It just takes 1 second and you're watching the live stream. Literally give it a thumbs up. And if you really like it, please feel free to retweet and share. Runa Pereira does a really good job at that on Twitter. Some of you other guys do too. Like Tony Nakatani does it. So a lot of you guys have been doing that. So thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to talk about the top players in the draft, in the upcoming draft, obviously 2022. Who are the best fits for these players? And also we're going to delve in and peel back layers of the onion to get to the core, as I always like to say in this BEASTwriter Family podcast or live streams, exactly what they bring to the table. All right, so let's start with Evan Neal. Well, you know what? We have comments here too. All right, we're going to get to those comments, but let's start with Evan Neal. All right, so who is Evan Neal? Evan Neal is a blindside left tackle this year, subbing in for Alex Leatherwood, who was drafted number 17 overall by the Las Vegas Raiders. If you guys wanted to know my analysis on how Alex Leatherwood stacks up and why I thought it was a reach to draft Alex Leatherwood at 17, go ahead and see my BEASTwriter game grades and BWF draft grades when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I said they reached for Alex Leatherwood just like they reached for Damon Arnett. This is all in real time, just like they reached for Clelin Ferrell. And here we are today. All right. So circling back to Evan Neal, one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the entire draft class, let alone he's a top interior or offensive tackle. I mean, he can play either or, and I'll tell you why. Well, in 2019, he played left guard. All right, he came in as a left guard, kicked inside the guard, and then he was playing right tackle in 2020. So he's playing right tackle in 2020 because Jedrick Wills was drafted number 10 by the Cleveland Browns. All right, that's one offensive tackle off to the NFL. And then a second offensive tackle by Bama goes the following year as the blindside left tackle. So now you have Evan Neal, who played left guard, then played right tackle, now goes on to play the blindside left side. Ooh, say that 3 times fast. Subbing in for Alex Leatherwood. So you look at this from a scouting perspective and you say, hey, look, this guy can play the piano along the offensive line if we need him in a bind. Typically, an offensive tackle, you're usually stuck to one side. For instance, hey, for our Niners fans, Kyle Shanahan even said it. He's like, hey, man, do you think about switching right tackle Mike McGlinchey to the left side? No, he's a right tackle. Okay, I guess that means he's not taking over for Joe Staley. So what did they do? They went out and got Trent Williams. So it's not interchangeable as easy as say, hey, this guy can be a swing tackle. It's not as easy as that because you kick slide differently. Some offensive tackles favor one side than the other side. Also, is it a scheme fit? You have so many different schemes in today's NFL. Obviously, when it comes to the run game, you have a power-based scheme or a zone blocking scheme. In my opinion, I think Evan Neal, and I've been grading him since 2019 for Hot Mic, doing live streams like we do this, and I was calling games. To me, what I see from Evan Neal's game is a guy who's going to be obviously the top offensive lineman in this entire draft class. It's not even, there's no guesswork involved. It wasn't like in 2020 where you had your pick of the litter and you say, oh, well, Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills or Mekhi Becton, right? That was the three-headed monster that we were talking about when it comes to offensive tackles. Obviously, Tristan Wirfs was in the equation as well. You don't have that kind of discussion. It's almost like, no, it's Evan Neal. Now, you can go ahead and say, oh, well, Charles Cross is a legit left tackle. He is. Charles Cross is definitely legit. But is he on the same level as Evan Neal? You can talk about Charles Cross and the amount of reps he's been getting in that style of offense and the amount of pressures he allows, which is not very much based on the ratio of plays that he's giving, based on being in pass protection, whereas pass set, angle set, you name it. But I think Evan Neal overall is a better sound play. Now, in my honest opinion, obviously he can play left tackle. I think that's where you want to start him off as. I wouldn't mind if you kicked him in. I mean, instantly right today, like right now, if he was to come into the NFL, Evan Neal would be a all-pro interior guard. My opinion. But you don't draft a guard that high at number 2 because I think he's going to go number 2. I don't think he's going to go number 1. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think hold that pick right now, are going to select Aiden Hutchinson, who we're going to talk about in another live stream when it comes to the Michigan game and when they face Georgia. A lot of big guys, especially on the down in the trenches, defensive front seven. You have guys, and we'll talk about like Jordan Davis. You have Wyatt there. You have Nakobe Dean, the best inside linebacker in the game, in my opinion, when it comes to the 2022 NFL draft. And then on the flip side of that, obviously you got Aiden Hutchinson, who I just mentioned, but you also have a guy by the name of David Ojabo. David Ojabo is someone who I'm going to talk about, and he doesn't get the hype that Aiden Hutchinson has, but man, he makes some plays, and if you saw the last few games of the year, he really turned it up a notch. So I would say that David Ojabo is he's more as a 3-4 outside linebacker than he is a 4-3 defensive end. Run fit integrity is something that he does good, but he doesn't do great. I think once offensive linemen lock horns with him, he has trouble disengaging from the block and stacking and shedding, whether it's spilling or boxing the play. So these are things that I look for. But back to Evan Neal. See, we're talking about a lot of things here. Back to Evan Neal. He's going to be a great player, and I think he's going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think GM Trent Baalke is going to go back and to the dirty archives back in 2010 and be like, hey, look, we need to give Frank Gore some help. We need to give James Robinson some help. Let's draft an offensive lineman. Yeah, Cam Robinson was playing on a franchise tag, but you know what? We need more goons up front. Yeah, we have Norwell, but we need more goons up front. Yeah, we have Linder, but we need more goons up front. We need our hog mollies, as Dave Gettleman would say. All right? Get your hog molly. Get Evan Neal. Do the right thing. Give Trevor Lawrence another guy and security blanket up top. We talk about security blankets being receivers, but you need security blankets along the offensive line. You have Evan Neal there, plug and play, boom, game over. Now, Cam Robinson doesn't have any leverage in negotiations because you drafted a blindside left tackle, or you could play right tackle, either or, pick your poison. So now you're looking at it, say, hey, Cam Robinson, you were on the franchise tag for what, 13 point something million dollars? Okay, we're not going to franchise tag you again, but are you willing to accept this? Time will tell to see how that works, but it remains to be seen. I think Evan Neal would be a good fit in Jacksonville, just like Trent Baalke did in 2010 when he traded up, from 13 to 11 with the Denver Broncos and got Anthony Davis, and then rolled over and second first round pick at number 17 and got the throw-in Samoan Mike Iupati. Right? Mike Iupati. All right. So with that being said, I think Evan Neal is a good fit for Jacksonville. But if not Jacksonville, let's say he slides, right? Let's say somehow this guy slides And by sliding, I don't think he's going to slide outside the top 5. If he slides anywhere outside the top 5, it's crazy because there's no quarterback in this draft class worthy of a top 10 selection. I mean, Kenny Pickett, really? No. Desmond Ridder? Nah. Matt Corral? Nah. Malik Willis? Oh. Not in the BWF. Not in my grading system. All right. So again, when we look at it, and we look at Evan Neal, sticking on Evan Neal, you look at teams that would be a good fit, and you look at the mock drafts out here, right? Based on draft position. Obviously, we still have 2 games left in the year, and free agency still needs to take place. Obviously, there's surprise cuts, so literally we don't know what's going to happen from now until then. But it's fun to talk about because at the end of the day, if they stick to their guns, they're going to want to draft a blindside left tackle. And teams out of the market, don't be surprised if the New York Jets are another team. Now, you can say, oh, well, the New York Jets drafted Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. The New York Jets have Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. Why not roll over with another first-round pick and draft Evan Neal if he's sitting there at number 2 or number 3, wherever you pick? Because you have multiple first-round picks, New York Jets, Robert Saleh. GM Joe Douglas. Yes, you do, because of Jamal Adams trade. Gotta love it. Woo! The tree just keeps on giving. All right? So you have that in play. Now you can, from a GM perspective, you have to play a little bit of, okay, draft position. Okay, so we're sandwiched. We're going to be picking here and here. Where are the teams that are the meat and we're the buns? Where's the meat? Where are they going to be selecting? Because if we can get a guy here, odds are, based on their draft needs, they're not going to go after this guy and what they did in free agency because that's not their tendencies. And then you can go ahead and roll over that. So it's a game of forward thinking. Is Dave Gettleman going to be returning? Or is he going to be retiring? That remains to be seen. If he does stay, I tweeted this out. He loves Georgia linebackers. He's going to go after Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. I put it out there already. Here we are in December. What was it? December last week. December 20-something, right before Christmas. But anyways, here we are today. All right. So when it comes to Evan Neal, you know, you have Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker. Right now, why not roll it down and give Zach Wilson another target? Another guy who they can target where they can plug and play a guy and say, hey, look, Zach Wilson, we're giving you goons up front. There is no excuses to not make the proper reads because, hey, we got you your guys. We got Mekhi Becton. The dancing bear, Mekhi Becton. Oh my gosh, the guy's he's huge, but he's nimble on his feet. All right. So Elijah Vera Tucker could have been, Pro Bowl type player. Guy's a monster. Texans and Panthers are also in the market for an offensive tackle. That's self-explanatory. I don't think we have to go and delve into too much about that. If they're sitting on the board, at the top of the board, and Evan Neal sitting there, obviously they would make a play for him. But the Panthers are not in line because I think he's going to go in the top 3 picks. There's no quarterback worthy of a top 3 pick this year, let alone the top 10. And you look at the New York Giants. We talked about Dave Gettleman and how he likes his hog mollies. Well, if Dave Gettleman, whether he's there or not, yes, you have left tackle Andrew Thomas, who comes out of Georgia. And that was a surprise pick, specifically by me. I was like, man, they're not going to go after it. If anything, I thought they were going to go after Tristan worse than they would Andrew Thomas. And they went after Andrew Thomas. Like, oh, at number 4, okay, cool. But look, Nate Solder, one of the oldest left tackles inside the NFL. Inside the NFL. Love that show. I should use that word. Use that term, inside the NFL. No, I think he's 33 years old. The guy, I think he restructured his deal. But he is coming back next year and in the last year of his contract. So you're going to need to find a blindside left tackle for Nate Solder because he's not going to be on the team next year or the following year after next year. They're not going to release him. He has $4 million on the books. So you're not going to release that guy because it does you no justice because you're not the cap savings of releasing him would be, I think it's $0. I don't think so. Might as well just keep him for another year and then just have an insurance policy in place so the next guy can roll in, or if the guy is ready to roll in, then he can do. But Evan Neal would be a good fit in New York, giving Danny Dimes or Daniel Jones or whoever. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Jones. I think Dave Gettleman kind of said in my base receipts. Anyways, checks out. They need to do something at offensive line, regardless, for Saquon Barkley, for whoever's freaking running the ball. All right, look it. You can also go and make the argument for my next guy. All right, let's stick on the offense side of the football when it comes to the Cotton Bowl. Let's talk about Jameson Williams. Not too many people talk about Jameson Williams, right? Jameson Williams, to me, if you guys don't know who Jameson Williams is, he's a transfer from The Ohio State University, and he transferred to from The Ohio State University because they have a freaking arguably the best 1-2 punch in all of college football at wide receiver. Who's that? Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Boom. All right. With that being said, he's like, you know what? I'm not getting much targets, man. I need to make a name for myself because I'm going to the NFL. All right. So I'm going to go and play for Bama. Going to play alongside John Mechie III. And we're going to make some noise. And they did. Jameson Williams actually took John Mechie's spot. I thought John Mechie was going to be the security blanket as a Roll Tide Roll fan. I said, hey, man, this is John Mechie's time to shine. Playing behind Jalen Waddle. Playing behind Devontae Smith. Oh, man. And he had a hit. He went over 1,000 yards this year, but he tore his ACL. It's like, oh, man, that sucks. So now he's out. The matchup to watch in this game is Jameson Williams versus Sauce Gardner. The hype on Sauce Gardner is he hasn't allowed a touchdown in his career. The hype on Sauce Gardner is the defensive secondary combined with Kobe Bryant, the Jim Thorpe Award winner, is, oh man, these guys are shutdown corners. But, it always comes with a but. But, can these guys play at the highest level against SEC talent? Top SEC Power 5 talent. That remains to be seen. And I think right now what you're going to look at, when you look at a guy like Sauce Gardner, is you're going to say, hey, look, is this guy the truth? Yes. All you guys are saying, oh, Niners should get Sauce Gardner. Well, what are they going to do with Jason Verrett? Are they going to re-sign him or are they going to let him walk? What are they going to do with Emmanuel Mosley, who's already signed a 2-year deal? You can't sit him. You're going to have to play him. But can he stay healthy? I don't know. That ankle. So they're going to need to do something. If you're going to go out in free agency and pick up a guy like J.C. Jackson, then you're going to be overpaying. I shouldn't say overpaying because we don't know what the asking price is, but odds are you're going to be paying a lot for a guy like J.C. Jackson. He's going to command top dollar because he's, in my grading system, the number 2 best cornerback in the game behind Jalen Ramsey. Number 3 is Pat Surtain. All right. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But when it comes to Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, I want to see how these guys match up against Jameson Williams. I want to see how these guys match up against Jaleel Billingsley when they run down the seam. It's going to be a good mix and match type of a deal. Obviously, they have Cameron Latu there, who, if you guys don't know what happened in Bama before the season began, or when the season began, Jaleel Billingsley was billed as a first-round, second-round talent. And then what happened was Nick Saban's like, nah, man, you're going to go in my doghouse. Or what Dabo Sweeney would call the love shack, where he put Darian Kendrick, DK. And then he had to transfer to Georgia. And I don't know what Jaleel Billingsley did. Maybe it was something with school. I don't know. But he did something, and Nick Saban wasn't happy about it. And he's like, you know what? We have Cameron Latu here. We're just going to play that guy. And that guy's been balling out of control. So I want to see how Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, not how they match up against tight ends. Obviously, you're going to see the linebackers are usually lined up as underneath defender. But it'd be cool to see how they tackle them in open space. That's something to look for as a boundary cornerback. I don't care what anyone says. You have to learn how to tackle. And you have to know how to tackle. You can't just be a cover corner and not know how to tackle. Because what good does it if a guy catches the ball in front of you and you can't make a play and all of a sudden he's going for a home run, making a house call? I want to see how these guys tackle in open space, if they can bring down these guys on initial contact. Because let me tell you, Jameson Williams and some of these other wide receivers like JoJo Earl, who's been injured. My man JoJo Earl, true freshman, baller. Kind of like in the Deontay Harris mold. Very small, very diminutive, yet shifty as heck. Puts people on skates. Yo, go rollerblade, son. That's what he's basically saying. I want to see how these guys do. I want to see how they match up. I want to see if they have good change of direction. I want to know if they have display patient feet at the line of scrimmage. I want to see how they play off man versus press man. If they're in a press bail technique or off man technique. I want to see how these guys click. I want to see that. And I think scouts want to see that. I think scouts are more concerned about that matchup than any other matchup in tomorrow's game. And I say that, and I don't say that lightly, because again, look, these guys obviously are good for a reason. Ahmad Gardner, Kobe Bryant, great Sauce. You don't get the nickname Sauce if you're not saucy. But I want to see it against Jameson Williams. I want to see it an apples to apples comparison when you're comparing the best, a Jim Thorpe Award winner, going up against the best in Jameson Williams. That's what I want to see. I want to see that matchup. And you know damn well what the Alabama Roll Tide Rollers are going to do. They're going to run a lot of 7, 8, 9 bangers, taking the top off that defense and testing them deep early. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. They're going to run Jameson Williams and see if they can match that speed, because Jameson Williams has track speed. All right. So we talked about those guys. We talked about John Mechie. He's out with a torn ACL, but this guy was a first-round talent. Still think he's a first-round talent until end of the first round. I see a poor man's Jalen Waddle, and I say poor man's Jalen Waddle because I don't think he's on that level of a Jalen Waddle, but that type of skill set he brings to the table. Which brings me to, we talk about the linebackers here. We're talking about Christian Harris. This is the guy who I've been watching, again, since 2019. The guy is really smart, really gets it, makes all the calls, gets everyone in place. Now, is he going to be the next great Alabama linebacker, like a Reuben Foster, like a C.J. Mosley, or Rashaan Evans from the Tennessee Titans? For our Niners fans, you guys are wondering who Rashaan Evans is, which the team declined his fifth-year option, which because he was a first-round pick, and they declined it, so he's going to be free to sign with whoever he wants. But is he going to be one of those linebackers? I don't see that. I don't see that when it comes to Christian Harris. One thing that I do like about Christian Harris's game, aside from his smarts, is although he takes proper angles to the ball carrier, he has a lot of missed tackles for a linebacker. A lot of missed tackles. And more importantly, in today's pass-happy NFL, he's not as strong in pass coverage as one would like as an underneath defender, right? I think he needs to be a little bit more mindful with these tight ends that running, or wide receivers, depending on playing the curl hook or the curl flat route, running behind you. You know, they come outside and they lock you inside, and then offensive coordinators run fuga. They get the linebacker's eyes shifty focused on the running back coming out of the flat or someone in that flat area. So now that creates a gray area because now you lose track of your main responsibility, which is that wide receiver who was playing the numbers to the boundary. And then he just runs a drag. Whoop. Right behind you, and you don't have eyes on the back of your head, son. So you can't see what's going on. You're supposed to be the deepest deep. Don't get beat deep. Don't give anything cheap. That's the word that we use, all right? But Christian Harris, good player. I like him. But he may struggle in pass coverage against Desmond Ridder. We'll see. Alabama defensive tackle brings me to defensive linemen down in the trenches. Phidarian Mathis and DJ Dale. I like these guys. DJ Dale, I don't know why he's not getting as much hype as people. I like DJ Dale. I really like DJ Dale. I think he's best suited for a 34 base defense. Kind of like an AFC North type of throwback defensive lineman. I don't see him being scheme dependent. He's definitely scheme dependent for sure. He's definitely scheme dependent. He can only play in like a 34 front. I mean, he's a two-gap eater, for sure. He's wide in the butt, right? But I just don't see a guy that can be a three-down player. But I do like him at his run-stuffing ability. I like DJ Dale a lot. I think a team like the Cincinnati Bengals or a team like the Baltimore Ravens in that 34 base or Pittsburgh Steelers, I think a team like that would take a flyer on him. I would say in the fourth round, fourth round, depending. Now, again, we don't see how the pro days do. Obviously, if he has a great playoff run here, that's going to elevate his stock. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Phidarian Mathis. I love this kid. I think he's a first-round talent. If you guys have LeBron Ray, too. Really good player. But that whole defensive line for Alabama is legit. And Phidarian Mathis, first-round talent in my opinion. I like this kid's play. He reminds me, gosh, if you guys want me to put a comparison on it, that's tough. That's tough because he's not going to be like a Christian Barmore type of player. You know, you guys all know how high I was on Christian Barmore. And I said, this guy, I can't believe he lasted till the second round and the Patriots got lucky and got him. Like, I don't know how that happened. He's not going to be like a Raekwon Davis type of a guy, but I do see a guy who's going to be solid for years to come. I would say that, to put it in perspective, I guess maybe similar to like a poor man's Grady Jarrett, maybe that type of skill set. Not saying he's going to be that type of player, but that type of skill set. But he really, I like Vidarian Mathis. I like Vidarian Mathis a lot. All right. We talked about Jalil Billingsley and Cameron Latu already. Let's talk about that secondary for Alabama. Josh Jobe and Jordan Battle. Now, Josh Jobe, to me, is a head-scratcher. I know this is a depleted, thin cornerback draft class, in my opinion. But outside of Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU, true freshman, had one hell of a year. Outside of, well, let's talk about it. If star Malachi Moore can come out, which he's not, he's ineligible, just like Will Anderson, who's ineligible because they're only sophomores, then we have something to talk about. But Josh Jobe, he gets beat on double moves a lot. He gives up a lot of penalties. Red zone efficiency, and my grading system's not so hot, dating back to 2019. Just go back to the LSU game. I'm looking at my notes, right, before hopping on, and I'm saying Josh Jobe. I like him. I think he's going to be a solid, but is he going to be a Pat Surtain? Is he going to be a Trayvon Diggs or even a Dre Kirkpatrick? You guys don't know all those guys played for Alabama. Or is he going to be a kind of guy like an Antonio Langham? You guys should know who Antonio Langham is. He also played for the Niners. Time will tell. But when it comes to his game, and then Jordan Battle, I like Jordan Battle. I like the free safety. Now, does he have that deep range of an Ed Reed or someone like that? No, he does not. But he's smart. He gets it. He makes sound plays. Nice open tackler in space. Will make plays on the football. I like Jordan Battle a lot. He's battle tested in the SEC. So I like that word that they use, battle tested. I'm going to use it. And hey, Jordan Battle, he's battle tested. Can't argue with that. I like all these players. As you can see, I'm talking a lot about Alabama because I'm a Roll Tide Roll fan. What do you guys expect? No. In all honesty, my analysis right here is forward-thinking for the 2022 NFL Draft and for tomorrow's game, so you guys know what to look for. All right? Ineligibles, we talked about that. All right? We have Will Anderson, Malachi Moore, and there's a running back that I like to mention, Chase McClellan. Chase McClellan was better than Brian Robinson. I love Brian Robinson. I love his story. Running back, number 4. But Chase McClellan, to me, man, that guy could have, man, look at Alabama next year. They're going to have 3 sophomores become... These guys are all going to be top 25 picks. Will Anderson could be the number 1 pick overall. Just putting it out there, Will Anderson is the best defensive player in college football. Even better than Hayden Hutchinson. That's just my opinion. For the last 2 years, even as a true freshman, he was ranked as my number 1 player in college football as a true freshman. Malachi Moore, who plays the star position, otherwise known as a slot, has a lot of rules of engagement in Nick Saban's secondary. So you have to be smart to even play that role because based on trips formation to the left, to the right, based on what certain players do pre-snap to post-snap, you really have to be on your A game because you're going to be the one making the calls on that side of the format if you're the star. Because whatever you do, it has a domino effect on everyone else. Right? It's not as simple as a soft 4 cover shell or a cover 3 or a cover 1 or a cover 2 for that matter, or a cover 5 sky coverage, whatever the call is. It's a lot different in Nick Saban's defense, and you have to be smart. You can't be dumb. Like, Nick Saban has that defense dialed into a T on the back half, and Randy Mueller said he has never seen anyone so smart when it comes to defensive scheming, especially on the secondary. All right, so we talked about what's going on. No one's talking really about Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati. All right, we're going to talk about Cincinnati. Sticking on Cincinnati, we talked about Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner, talked about Kobe Bryant. Now let's talk about my man, Myjai Sanders. He's a tweener. What's a tweener? Well, a tweener is a term that we used back in the late 90s to early 2000s. Now we call it edge. So you guys know what an edge rusher is? Well, that's what a tweener is. I'm just going to stick to the word tweener now. I'm going to try to bring this word back. I'm going to try to bring it back into the NFL media. Like, we should use tweeners. I'm going to start using tweeners for my BDF lingo. Just like peeling back layers of the onion to get to the core, just like my fuga, just like my triple F, flip-flop or fake, flip-flop or fake. Don't be a flip-flop or fake. Yeah. We're going to use tweener. He's a tweener. I see him more as a 3-4 outside linebacker than a 4-3 defensive end simply because I don't think he could be hit with body analysis where he's not going to jeopardize his speed. We talked about this on earlier live streams. Now, that means he's scheme dependent. That means only 34 outside linebackers teams are going to be drafting this kid as a 3-4 outside linebacker. When you try to convert someone from a 34 base to a 4-3 front defensive end, you have to be mindful of one thing. If you guys bulk this kid up, and where do you bulk him up? You can't just say, hey, look, trust me, I'm in the fitness industry. I know. I work with athletes. I know. You can't just say, hey, look, oh, man, what do you weigh? Oh, I weigh 165 or I weigh 235. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. We want to put 15 pounds on this frame. The first thing I'd say to people say, oh, we need to add 15 pounds. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are we doing on Inside the NFL? Who follows me, if you guys are watching this, Julian Edelman segment. What are we doing? You can't just say bulk up to 235 or 250 or 265, 270. What are we doing? You can't just do that and think like, oh, well, there's not going to be a drop off here or a drop off there. Everything impacts something. So it's like, okay, you're going to bulk them up. Okay, how much of that is going to be fat and how much of that is going to be actually muscle? Because for me, if I was a strength and conditioning coach, I'd be, okay, like, all right, GM XYZ, you want me to bulk up my J from 225 to 245. Okay, what's the time frame you want me to, oh, you just want them eating whatever? No, it doesn't work that way, bro. Like, that's going to be turning into fat. I don't care how high your metabolic rate is. All right? I don't care how high, like, it's going to be turning into fat at some point. You can't just be eating junk food or whatever. And there's people that do that. Literally, I've seen it. I have friends who do it, okay, that play in the NFL. But they're also really, really good, so they get the pass. They eat Panda Express and so forth. But getting back to Myjai Sanders, you can't just look at the guy and say, hey, look, we're just going to bulk this guy up to XYZ weight. No, it's like, dude, I want to know what his body fat is, and let's kind of shred him. Let's get that lean body mass up. And don't go off the BMI, which is the body mass index. Do not do that. Because literally, if you do that, it's just a gauge, and do I look obese? No. Or do I look overweight? No. But the BMI, based on the scale, it would say that I'm overweight. It's like, no, man, muscle weighs more than fat. If you know, you know. Hashtag. Anyways, I like Myjai Sanders. He's a guy that has a strong initial get-off. I really like his game. Graded really high in my BF grading system last year, as well as this year. So kind of tailored off this year a little bit, which is surprising. I thought he would raise and elevate his game. But Myjai Sanders, hey, if you're watching, my hat's off to you. And there's other guys that we're not talking about who aren't even in the college football playoff. We talked about Aiden Hutchinson, obviously from Michigan on the other side of the college football playoff. But there's other guys that we can talk about. We can talk about DeMarvin Leal from Texas A&M. Beast. I think he's best suited for a 4-3 defensive tackle position as a 3-tech defensive tackle. I don't see him as a 4-3 defensive end. And if you're going to put him on the outside like that, I think you're doing yourself no justice, because at the end of the day, although he can play that position, I think his best, you got to put your players in the best position to make plays. I think that's on the interior, not the exterior. Just like what they did with Chris Jones. They tried the experiment with Chris Jones in the NFL in Kansas City, if you guys don't know who Chris Jones is. Or you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Chris Jones, right? Came out of Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken. Bulldog. Which, by the way, I thought the Niners would draft him in the second round. I think it was number 35. And we had a poll going for all of us beat writers, and we had to submit it to Matt Barrows and Matt Mayoko. And he went number 35. But unfortunately, he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, not the Niners. Anyways. Or whatever. It was that pick in the second round. Wherever he was drafted in the second round, they're like, hey, Ryan, you got it. But it was the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm like, oh, dude. Yeah, it's my luck. Every year, for the guys who don't know, beat writers, we always take a poll. And usually there's only a handful of us that want to do it, but usually we take a poll and not a poll, but we take predictions and place your wagers. But it's not like big money or anything. It's like, oh, lunch or a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. All right, but getting back to it, where am I going with this? I don't know. I'm going off topic here. Oh, DeMarvin Leal, Chris Jones, moved him outside because they got Jerron Reed, right? They brought in Jerron Reed, who came from the Seattle Seahawks. You guys are wondering, another Roll Tide roll guy. Got Jerron Reed, tried to kick him inside. Like, oh yeah, we can move Chris Jones now outside. And I kind of struggled. Why? Because in my BWF grading system, called it out. I said, hey man, this guy gives up a lot of run fit integrity. You're going to move him outside? How's he going to do an outside contain in his rush lane integrity? Then he's not doing so hot. Now let's kick him back inside. Let's just, Now he's doing well, and the Kansas City Chiefs defense is thriving. Why? Because they also made a trade from Melvin Ingram. Pass rushing Melvin Ingram, number 24. All right. So, again, you can't just say this guy can go outside if he can't go outside. If he's best suited inside, keep him inside. Eric Armstead, not good outside. He's not really good inside either, but he's better inside. All right, let's get to some of your questions. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to tweeners. Mr. TNA says, for months I said if Cincinnati gets, it will be destroying the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. Sauce locks Williams like Lattimore does with Evans. Ritter has the match of his life and 55 win. Wow. Okay, so you think they'll be destroyed in the playoffs, but you hope you're wrong. Williams like Lattimore does with Evans. Okay, so you're saying that the true lockdown with Mike Evans and Lattimore, I get it. Kind of like the same thing with DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey, right? Jalen Ramsey kind of mirrors DK and, well, he got shut down. DK can't get open. I take that back. He was open a few times after watching coaches film him a BWF grading system, but ball was, I don't know what's wrong with Russell Wilson. Anyways, Bay Area Baller 18. Let me pull up these banners here. All right. And this is a live call-in show, guys. So if you guys want to call in, feel free to do so. I'm going to put that up here. Bay Area Baller 18. And give it a like. You guys are watching this right now. Give it a like. Give me a thumbs up. Show me some love. I really appreciate it. Give your boy some props. All right. My pro comp for Desmond Ritter is Ryan Tannehill. I thought you were going to say Ryan Sakamoto. I'm joking. Do you see some of that? No, I don't. I think Ryan Tannehill was different. Obviously, he was a converted wide receiver. Ryan Tannehill was. Didn't he come out of, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all on top of my head. Texas A&M, right? Came out of Texas A&M, and what I saw was a guy, and again, you're kind of projecting non-Power 5 conference type of player too. Now, I'm not saying that because he doesn't play in that conference, he can't be good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying our job is to project and predict. Right? As an NFL insider analyst, our job is to project and predict. It's the player's job to perform. They don't like it, play better. But again, the Beast receipts check out more times than not. I don't see that type of skills when it comes to Desmond Ritter as opposed to Ryan Tannehill. I do see that, if you want to stay on that line of thinking when it comes to the 2022 quarterback, I do see that with Matt Corral. Matt Corral, to me, you guys go, who's Matt Corral? Here we are talking about Alabama and saying, who's Matt Corral? Well, he's a quarterback of Ole Miss, and he has always given Alabama fits. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy scares me when he plays Alabama. He's just scary. He's scary. He's scary. Don't like it. Don't like it. Lane Kiffin knows how to use them. Gosh, yeah, I like Matt Corral a lot. In fact, I do like Kenny Pickett as well from Pittsburgh, but I like Matt Corral a lot. In fact, I don't know. Right now he's my number 1 rated quarterback. Call me crazy, but I like Matt Corral. Not saying he's going to be a number 1. Let's face it. If he was to come out of last year's draft, he'd probably be number 6 or 7 or 8 or 6. So this quarterback class is not strong. Now watch me be wrong and watch like 5. This be the greatest quarterback draft class in NFL history. Crazy Juice from BEASTwriter Family says, I do hope Cincinnati beats Bama. Lunar Mystic says, what's up, Beast? What's going on? I see you, my man. Thank you so much for the love and support. Mr. TNA says, I love Ritter's story, but when I watched him, I did not like what I saw. He is not accurate at all. Many throws will be interceptions in the NFL and makes too many mistakes. To me, he is a 5th round. Ooh, a 5th round pick from Romania. My man, Mr. TNA. Like it. Mr. TNA says, Evan Neal is the players for Jags, Jets, and Texans. Yep. And as I stated, he agrees. And he said, should select instead of those great passers like Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to actually go to Houston. If Aiden Hutchinson goes 1, based on the mock drafts, right? Based on my mock draft, which is pretty accurate along with the ones that are out there, the best ones out there. Depending on how, we don't know how the draft position is going to fall, but if Jacksonville Jaguars hold the number 1 overall pick, how can you not? It's hard to say that they can't go and draft a guy like Evan Neal. It's very difficult for me to think that. Or Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, they could fall in love with Aiden Hutchinson. And we all know the whole story with bulky loving Oregon guys with Armstead and Buckner. Could they go Kayvon Thibodeau? Jacksonville Jaguars did it already with a guy by the name of, what's his name? Another tweener that was drafted number 3 overall back in, what year was it? Deion Jordan, who I believe also played for the Niners, if I'm not mistaken. I thought he was going to be a bust. And people are like, oh man, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, check the beast receipts. Another one checks out. You know, sometimes you just got to go with what you know or what you think. Just go with it. Mr. Cheney said Evan Neal is the players Jags, Jets, and Texans should select instead of those great pass rushers like Aiden or KT. All right. What else do we got here? Lunar Mystic says the NFL mock drafts overrate quarterbacks. Mello, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate the love and support, bro. Thank you so much. If you guys like the work, like the channel, like the BEASTwriter movement, we are striving to push. Consider sending me a super chat. Also, it helps me stay on topic. As you guys know, obviously I'm dressed like this because I got to get the gym and get my gym gains in before the end of the year. This will be my last workout because I plan on doing a live stream tomorrow for tomorrow's game, the Cotton Bowl. Why not? Why not go out and be a Roll Tide Roll fan for a little bit and just call the game? And be like, hey, this is what you should look for in this play. This is down in distance or in this cover shell. If they're soft and off, you guys know what that means, soft and off. Talked about it earlier. Quarterback sees it. If it's soft and off, they're going to change up the play to this, or they're going to roll coverage this way. Then it's a game of chess. Then they kind of invert the coverage the other way. I love football. A lot of stuff happens pre-snap that to the naked eye you really can't see. You just see hand motions. And then you see, I told you guys, you know, Davis Mills, what's the one word that he always uses? Alpha, alpha, alpha. Like an alpha dog. Alpha, alpha, alpha. Like Peyton Manning. Omaha Steaks. Thank you so much, Mello, for the super chat and super sticker. Appreciate the love. If you guys like the work, like the channel, like the BEASTwriter movement, we are striving to push here on YouTube. Consider sending me a super chat or super sticker. Or if you're watching from the comfort of your home on Twitter, please consider sending me a tip. It'd be greatly appreciated. Crazy Juice says, do you see Kenny Pickett being drafted to the Steelers? Hey, look. Homegrown. They did it with freaking James Conner. I can see it happening. And on the topic of homegrown. Okay. For all you guys don't know, you guys want some trivia. I don't know how I remember this. Maybe because I cover draft like no other. But the last Cincinnati Bearcat, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, to be drafted was David Hawley. David Hawley? Is that his word? Name? Or was it Derek Johnson? It was when I was at San Diego State. I remember watching the preseason game. It was in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was... I want to say it was it was David Hawley drafted by Cincinnati in the 7th round, because I remember they had like 4 or 5 7th rounders. And Derek Johnson was drafted in the 6th round. And I remember watching that preseason game, and I was thinking, which cornerback is going to make a play in this preseason meaningless game in Mexico? I think it was in Mexico, or it was somewhere internationally. And I think there was a fumble return for a touchdown or a pick six return for a touchdown. I think that was by Derek Johnson. So, David Hawley was the last cornerback, last Cincinnati player to be drafted by the 49ers. All right. And he just so happens to be a cornerback. I do also believe that, I think, I have to look it up. I think there's only been like 3 Cincinnati Bearcats drafted by the Niners in history. Now, that's not to say Cincinnati Bearcats don't turn out. I mean, come on. You look at Kelsey's, right? The Kelsey brothers. Pretty damn good themselves. Anytime I think of Cincinnati, I always think of college basketball, and I think of Bobby Huggins when he was the head coach. And he had Danny Fortson. You guys remember Danny Fortson? He also played for the Warriors. He played for the Warriors. He was a power forward. Danny Fortson was a beast. I think they played in the Big East. I don't think there was a Conference USA. Oh, maybe it was Conference USA at the time. I thought it was the Big East. I think they were in the Big East during that time. I remember watching them as a kid. Anytime I think of Cincinnati, that's who I think of. I guess I can think of Nick Van Exel too. Didn't Nick Van Exel also play for Cincinnati? I remember having his trading cards. I think Nick Van Exel did play for Cincinnati. Correct me if I'm wrong. Number 31, right? I don't know. I don't know how I'm remembering this stuff. Anyways, back on topic. Some guy on Twitter's like, dude, you're like an encyclopedia. I'm like, I don't know how I remember this stuff. Craziest, are there any quarterbacks or wide receivers you want to see get drafted by the Niners? Hey, look, if we could draft all the wide receivers and running backs and cornerbacks, I would say go for it. But again, I would like them to develop some guys. Use the shotgun approach. We talked about it on my YouTube live streams, how I like how teams use the shotgun approach because, again, there are no guarantees no matter what round you draft a player. No one's God. No one can predict the future. So if you use the shotgun approach and say, hey, look, we have more darts on our board at this position, more times than not, we have a higher chance of hitting on that positional unit. So if I was a GM and here we are in the draft and some guys are starting to fall and say, hey, look, is it wise to wait to maybe select these guys as undrafted rookie free agents? Because obviously they get paid more than being drafted in the 6th or 7th round. Or should we just say, hey, look, let's just get the guy that we want and try to develop him. And let's get more than one guy because we don't know if this guy is going to pan out because he has these traits, but we don't know if he actually is going to get up top. He has the physical skill set, but does he get it up top mentally? Football is as a game as it is mental as it is physical. So you got to have 2 and 2 together in order to be a really good football player. You can't just be all physical with no brains to it. It doesn't work. I mean, if you're playing a team and the down and distance is 3rd and 2 and you're playing a cover 2, there's no reason for you to be in off coverage. You're supposed to be in press coverage. And if you're in press, you're going to obviously have to jam because it's 3rd and 2. Don't give them a free release off the line of scrimmage if you're playing with inside or outside leverage, depending on what you're being asked to play. Now, no one should tell you that. You should know that on your own. Ambry Thomas, if you're listening, just joking. The Camper said Michigan versus Georgia game is going to be exciting. The Camper Report, thank you so much for the love and support. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think both games are going to be exciting. Look, I think this is who I want because I'm a big Jim Harbaugh supporter. I covered him. I know him personally. Great guy. I was going through Facebook. Everyone has Facebook. I was going through my timeline and all this Jim Harbaugh stuff pops up because obviously he was leaving around this time X amount of years ago. What was it? Back in 2014. So all this stuff came up and there was one thing I put up on my personal Facebook page, and it talked about how Jim Harbaugh, and I always remember this, but I don't remember exactly what he said until I went back and read it. He came before he left. He came to me and said, I always liked you, and you always ask good, smart questions. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then I told him a quote, and I told him this quote, and he said he really liked it, and he's going to take it with him. And this is the quote that I told Jim Harbaugh. I said, with all the stuff going on in your life, man, like there's a quote that I really want you to know. And he's like, okay, what is it? And I said, don't worry about what I'm doing. Worry about why you're worried about what I'm doing. Get it? Basically saying, hey, don't worry what I'm doing, man. Worry why you're worried. Why I'm shining. I'm still going to shine. So why are you worried about me? You should be worried about that. You should be worried about your own business rather than my business. At the end of the day, I'm still going to shine. So don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. And why you're worried about me, you should be worried about that because you shouldn't be worried about that. You should be consumed with what you're doing in your own life, not someone else's. He smiled. He's like, I like that. It's like, I like that. Mello. So Jim Harbaugh, big supporter of you, always been. I was the one that broke the news at Levi Stadium with all the Michigan stuff going on. And you guys can see that was on SB Nation when I worked for Bleacher Report as well. Anyways. All right. Mello, who is the bigger bust, Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf? Hey, man, that's a toss-up. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. I would say, I would say Jamarcus Russell. No, I don't know, man. Ryan Leaf was freaking a head case. Hey, if I was that media member inside that locker room and he ever kind of crowded me like that, bro, there'd be fireworks for sure. I ain't, trust me. I've got into it with players in the locker room and I don't back down. You can ask any beat right. I don't back down. I don't care how big they are. I got into it with 10 Carradine. But I didn't do anything. I reported something and he didn't like it. Kevin Lynch was with me. He's like, hey man, this guy's credible. BEASTwriter's credible, man. So if you have a problem, like, you may maybe take it up to upper management. Basically, I put an article up that he may be released or traded. Didn't like it. Because, for whatever reason. Not saying he wasn't good. I thought he was a great player. In fact, I loved him coming out of Florida State as a second-round pick when they traded down from 34 to 40, and with the Tennessee Titans, who they recently just played. And obviously, the Tennessee Titans picked up homegrown Tennessee player, wide receiver, Justin Hunter, I believe. And they rolled dice and got Tank Carradine. Or Cornelius Carradine. But yeah. Don't like it, play better. But I always thought Tank Carradine had Pro Bowl potential. I really did. And I just think, man, he was hit with body analysis. We talked about it with Chip Kelly being converted from a 4-3 defensive end to a 34 outside linebacker. Working on basic moves, having trash cans set up on how to spin and beat the guy in front of you, half man, try to learn all these different pass rush moves. It's like, man, like, that's tough. Then you have Ronald Blair do it from Appalachian State, who could arguably be coming out. Could have been a nose tackle for a 34 base defense, and then you convert him to a 34 outside linebacker. It's like, what are we doing? As Inside the NFL, Julian Edelman would say on Paramount Plus. What are we doing? If you don't have the personnel to play it, don't do it. Now, the Jaguars have transitioned to a 34 base defense, I think in large part to GM Trent Baalke, but it's anyone's guess. I really believe that GM Trent Baalke loves 34 base defense. I think he does. I think he likes 34 base defense. Hey, they did it in San Francisco during all those years during Jim Harbaugh. You had Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Alden Smith, and Alon Brooks. Arguably the best quartet of linebackers to ever suit up for San Francisco during that time frame. Now you can argue a few, but hey, those guys that I just named were first or second team All Pros. Not Pro Bowl players, All Pros. That means cream of the crop, best of the best in the prime of their careers. I mean, Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis alone could be arguably the best 1-2 linebacker duo in their prime ever. Hard to argue against that. Matt Moses says, what's up, Beast? What's going on? How are you doing today? And thank you for joining us here on this, well, Tell Truth Thursday. Tell Truth Thursday. We're just keeping them 100, telling you the truth. All right. As we talk and as we get your questions right. Oh, there is a lot of questions. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me pull up my... Jeez Louise. I'm getting notifications here. Twitter, Instagram. Let's see what you guys had to say about that. A lot of stuff going on. Hope everyone has a fun and safe new year. Don't drive drunk, please. Buzzed, I don't care. Oh, I'm buzzed. I'm going to drive. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. There's Uber, there's Lyft. There's a lot of different options out there. I think AAA does free rides. I think they dedicate, I don't know. There's a lot of services out there that, you legit should be using, or have a friend who doesn't drink. Like, I don't drink. I don't know if you guys know that, but I don't drink. I quit drinking. I shouldn't, well, let's face it. Ever since I started competing in bodybuilding, we really can't drink. You can't drink. You can't have this body and drink. There's no way. It doesn't work that way. Now, I will say that, how many drinks have I had in the last 7 years? I don't know. Maybe like six, and a shot is one drink for me. So I probably had maybe like 6 or 7 shots in like 7 years. I don't drink, like, ever. Like, if I drink ever, it's like, are you okay, Ryan? What's going on, Beast? Are you okay? Like, what's on your mind? Like, nah, man, I just don't drink. Like, and trust me, I used to drink a lot. I mean, for crying out loud, I was the pledge class vice president at Phi Kappa Psi at San Diego State. So you talk about party school, and then you talk about being in a top house fraternity. Phi Kappa Psi, for all you Phi Psis out there, holla at your boy. And then being the vice president. Action Jackson. All right. So here we go. Getting to some of your questions, but yeah, seriously, don't drink and drive. It's all bad. There's nothing good that can come from it, guys. Trust me, I was an insurance broker, as an insurance agent as well. Aside from the damage it can cause to you or someone else, it's just not worth it. I mean, yeah, you have a DUI on your record. It stays on your record for 10 years, right? And it stays on your record for 10 years, legit. And then your insurance will go through the roof. I should know because I was the one. You have to get what's called the SR22. For those who don't know, they suspend your license. You have to get it back. You have to go to take alcohol classes and all this stuff, all this jazz. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Not worth it. Definitely don't want to hurt you or someone else. That's the biggest one, obviously. But just not worth it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Get to some of these questions here. A lot of you guys send me DMs. I know these DMs are coming in hot. All right, so DM on Twitter. We have a guy by the name of Justin Stevens says, "Hey Beast, I saw watching your Cincinnati, Alabama preview. Trying to make it coherent. Give me a second. What? I'm watching your preview. What are your thoughts on the 49ers getting one of those guys? I don't know which guys he's talking about, but I'm thinking Sauce Gardner. I think that's the guy that everyone's talking about, my man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sauce Gardner, to me, is a guy who, like I said, I don't think he's going to be available when the Niners are on the clock because they don't have a first-round pick. I do believe that John Lynch is going to pull a trigger and move back up in the tail end of the first round or somewhere in the first round and get their guy. They have to. You cannot take a wait-and-see approach in the second round to draft a cornerback. No, you want a guy like Sauce Gardner, you're going to have to trade up and get him. Get the guy you want. And then the post-draft presser, when people, the beat writers and NFL media guys are sitting there in the post-draft presser and they're asking, "Hey, man, what made you decide to draft and trade up for Sauce Gardner?" "Oh, we really like him, and we got the guy we wanted. We're happy. We're very fortunate to get him. We saw the trade value chart. We thought it was the best fit, and we got our guy. We didn't want to wait around. We wanted that. We wanted our Reuben Foster." All right, let's get to some of the other questions before I gotta go and hit the gym. We got Matthew Sosa. That's a cool name. Matthew Sosa. Every time I think of Sosa, I'm thinking of Sammy Sosa. He asked me, "What are the chances that the New York Jets would trade 2 first-round draft picks to get the guy they wanted all along? And could Aiden Hutchinson be that guy?" Well, I don't know if Aiden Hutchinson will be that guy. Again, you guys got to remember, you guys forget I know everyone has a short-term memory, including myself sometimes. But hey, you guys signed Carl Lawson to that big money deal from Cincinnati. All right, there's a game of musical chairs there where the Saints then lose out on Trey Hendrickson. He then fills in the shoes for Carl Lawson in Cincinnati. Right? So you're seeing the kind of domino effect, again, the landscape of the entire NFL, right? A lot of these edge rushers were playing musical chairs in the offseason, as in every year, because edge rushers are a premium position, or a tweener, depending on what scheme you're in. If you're in a traditional 4-3 front or a 34 odd man base. But yeah, you have Carl Lawson. I think you guys are banking on him returning. So you guys gave him big money not to ride the pine. It's going to be hard to. But again, you can never have enough pass rushers in the NFL. That's the other term, right? You can never have enough good pass rushers, which is true. I mean, shoot, if you had 3 or 4 Aiden Hutchinsons or Carl Lawson, I'd be like, hey, let's go. let's ride that wave. Makes our secondary look a whole lot better. We don't care if you have an inside linebacker that can't cover down the seam because the quarterback isn't going to have time to make that progression. All right. So that's what I think. I think you guys are set. I think it'd be I wouldn't. If I had 2 first-round draft picks in the top 10, it's hard for me as a GM to move off that spot. I mean, you're holding premium draft position there, and I think unless there's a generational talent, you make that move. But I don't see really a guy that you can really make a sound play for. Now, when you talk about guys and needs, right? Let's take a look at what the Jets have, right? So you talk about having 2 first-round picks because, again, they have Seattle Seahawks put, thanks to the Jamal Adams, the tree keeps on giving. Jamal Adams. You look at the landscape of their roster, and off the top of my head, I believe they signed Keelan Cole from the Jacksonville Jaguars on a 1-year deal. And I did a YouTube live stream on this. That's how I remember all this stuff. But I believe, mistake me if I'm wrong, drop the comment, say, Beast, you're wrong. You know what they're talking about. But this is off the top of my head. And again, I'm sorry if I get it wrong. If I get one wrong, I am sorry. Sorry in advance. But no, Keelan Cole, I believe, came from Jacksonville on a 1-year prove-it deal. And I think what happened was Jamison Crowder was entering the last year of his deal, so this is the last year for him. I also believe that they drafted Elijah Moore in the second round, right? And they also have a guy by the name of Corey Davis, who they got from the Tennessee Titans on that big money deal, right? So he's going to be there long term. So based on, I believe, what they have at the end of the year, they don't have much depth when it comes to the wide receiver position. In fact, I think Berrios is out. I think Keelan Cole is out. And I think Jameson Crowder is out. That's 3 of your top 5 wide receivers. And all you have left is second-round pick, slot receiver Elijah Moore, who's absolutely a beast, which I said I'm a beast receipts in my pre-draft analysis. And A.J. Highsmith, scout for the Buffalo Bills, and my dear friend echoed that analysis as well. And we both love Elijah Moore coming out. And we talked about it. But yeah, Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. That's all they really have. I mean, you lose 3 of your top 5 wide receivers. Obviously, the biggest need becomes outside of offensive linemen. If you can't get a guy like Evan Neal or even a Charles Cross, is a possible guy by the name of Jameson Williams, who we're going to see tomorrow. Jameson Williams is going to be the first wide receiver off the board. If he's not, I'll be uberly surprised. Uberly surprised if Jameson Williams is not the first wide receiver off the board. I'd be extremely surprised, man, because there's no better wide receiver in the NFL. Or, well, he's going to the NFL. No better wide receiver, period. And he can return kicks, so he adds value. Again, when you look at drafting a player, you don't just look at the player. You have to see the skill set that he brings to the table. Can this guy be coached up? Can you do these, does he have the traits? Does he have the critical factors that we look for? Does he get it up top? Is he competitive? Does he have that drive? Does he have that work ethic? Do we have to monitor him? Do we have to babysit him? Do we have to be worried about this kid off the field? Is he going to be a good community guy? What type of guy are we bringing in? That's what these pre-draft visits are for. In fact, I talked about this earlier. Sometimes teams, and I know this for a fact, they bring in other players to hide their interest in the player they're really coveted in their top 30 visits before pre-COVID. Hey, so what do you think Chase Winovich of Devin Bush? Oh, man, he's really good as they're eating dinner. Oh, yeah, with the headlines, they dined out Chase Winovich. They really like him. And they did. I'm not saying they didn't. GM Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin both like Chase. And I like Chase Winovich coming out of Michigan. I still like him with the New England Patriots. I like him. I like Chase Winovich. Love his high motor. Good effort type of a guy. Like him. You guys wonder who Chase Winovich is. Like, who's Chase Winovich? Look him up. Good player. I like him. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to some of these other questions before I gotta go. We're about a minute in, and this is a live call-in stream. So if you guys want to call in, please be sure to do that. It's in the YouTube bio, and be sure to go ahead and send me those Super Chat and Super Stickers if you like, or give it a thumbs up because you guys are watching this right now. I see it. Give it a thumbs up if you don't mind. Do the right thing. No, I'm joking. All right, so let's get to some of your other questions. Another one from, this one's on Instagram. We got an Instagram DM. Slide in my DM, as they say on Instagram. All right. We have a question from Sheena Sanchez. Says, what do the 49ers need to do to be a true playoff contender? Well, that's a loaded question in itself. What do the 49ers need to do to be a playoff contender? Well, Sheena, let me explain it to you. No, look, the boundary quarterback is in shambles. But hey, you can go around the league and say, yeah, well, look at the Steelers and James Pierre. He's in shambles. That's why they had to roll in Trey Norwood. And then they had to get, but who do the Steelers have? Akilla Witherspoon. What did I say in my beast receipts? Once he left and went to Seattle, and then Seattle got rid of him, and he went to Pittsburgh, I said, whatever team keeps him, they're getting a player. Akilla Witherspoon playing extremely well with Pittsburgh. James Pierre, not so hot. Kyle Fuller for the Denver Broncos, not so hot. Vildor for the Chicago Bears, not so hot. Running grades, watching coaches' film is what I'm seeing. New York Jets, can you name their top boundary cornerbacks? No. It was a game of musical chairs early on. Trust me on this. And so the Jets, I can see them going after Derek Stingley Jr. Now, the 49ers, they have their own problems. Emmanuel Mosley's been out with an ankle. Right? Jason Verrett, best of luck to that guy. Roll in Drake Kirkpatrick. That experiment failed. Then he also signed Josh Norman, the peanut punch Josh Norman. He gives up a lot. Too much for a veteran. I mean, just look at that game against the Titans and that touchdown that he gave up. Like, how can you not get your hands on that receiver? And then you play with inside leverage and get beat on the inside. I don't know. I don't know. You touch him after the fact, he reaches the pylon and in the end zone. It's already too late. The guy catches the ball in the end zone. It's already a touchdown. All right. Get your hands on the receiver early and often. They have problems at cornerback. That's all I have to say about that. They have true problems at cornerback. Cornerback needs to get cleaned up. You can play a cover 4 shell and protect those boundary cornerbacks, which D'Amico Ryans is doing. But then now you're seeing teams, again, we talked about the high-low concepts, running trips formation, a 3x1 or a 3x2 set formation to the right or the left, depending on play side of where the hashes are. And or where they're lined up on the hash, I should say. And what you're seeing is that high-low concept. So you're running that slot wide receiver, and you're taking away that curl flat defender if they're running a cover 4 shell. And now that curl flat defender is now in that fuga area, because once that inside slot receiver runs inside, well, if the spacing is correct and that tight end is now taking over that middle linebacker who's supposed to defend the curl hook route. Now, that curl flat defender has to take on that slot wide receiver, stick with him, and then what you see, again, the high-low concept, you see that split end. He's just going to run a quick slant, so they're angling like this, and that leaves Ambry Thomas on an island. And when you leave Ambry Thomas on an island with a 5 to 6, 7 yard cushion off the line of scrimmage, a free release off the line of scrimmage, I mean, you're gaining 5, 6 yards every single play. This is what you call taking what the defense gives you. If the defense gives you that, if I'm Mac Jones, or if I don't care, if Matthew Stafford, whoever, doesn't matter. You take what the defense gives you. Don't force feed George Kittle like what Jimmy Garoppolo does. Just take what the defense gives you. Hey, look, he's giving me that. Say thank you. Thank you, Ambry Thomas. Because, again, if Ambry Thomas, he's scared to get beat deep. That's another reason why he's playing with it so far off. But at the end of the day, it's like D'Amico Ryans can only do so much, right? And I think he's doing it right. But at the end of the day, it's up to the players on the field to actually make plays on the football. Now, again, fuga, high-low concepts, this is all something that I talked about, and you saw it with the trio of wide receivers that the Bengals have, using Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. I broke it down on Twitter. You know, want to check the Beast receipts on that, go ahead and do that. But that's what you're seeing. You're seeing teams take advantage of Ambry Thomas and exposing him, and they're trying to give him protection. But at the end of the day, hey, look, if you see Jimmy Ward lined up on the opposite side and it's Jaquaski Tart on one side and then you have Ambry Thomas on the other, I'm gonna run 2 verticals and say, hey, look, Jaquaski, you're gonna have to make a decision. You're gonna help out that boundary cornerback, or you're gonna help out that curl flat defender. Your choice. More times than not, it's gonna be a completion or a defensive PI. Telling you right now. All the quarterback has to do is throw from the numbers to the boundary to where only the receiver can catch the ball. And again, when you do that, you're always in a prime position. So again, this can be a problem in the playoffs. Everything's amplified in the playoffs. You know this. In the football where it's a game of inches, this is where scheme comes into play. And this is where good coaching comes into play. Again, if you're a quarterback, the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at where Ambry Thomas is lined up, and I'm also looking at where that free safety is. If Jimmy Ward's lined up on the opposite side of the hash, and if it's a 2 deep safety look, odds are, and this quarterback's playing off coverage, I'm gonna say they're soft and off, which means it's a cover 4 shell. Now, if post snap, obviously, if Jimmy Ward climbs up and he's a curl hook defender, now it's a cover 3. He's still playing off coverage. Okay. So now there's 4 underneath defenders instead of 3. We can still take advantage of that because now they're matched up 1-on-1 outside. Technically, because I don't think Jaquaski Tart can have the range to go ahead and cover all that ground. Because now he's slanting from boom to boom, and then coming back, boom. That's a lot of boom. But he's not the only problem, right? He's not the only problem. There's a lot of problems on the Niners. I mean, injuries have hurt them. But again, I think it comes down to the strength and conditioning staff. You got to put the blame somewhere. They get paid the millions of dollars to make it happen, make sure their players are healthy. So time and time again, year after year after year. I mean, look, Azeez Al-Shaair, sprained elbow. Now what? Sprained MCL. But if you guys watch the game, and if you watch coaches film, you will know that Azeez Al-Shaair hurt his elbow. If you know, you know. Go watch that game again, and you'll see him hurt his angle, hurt his elbow making the tackle. He actually grabs it. No one caught that? I did. And I said, they shouldn't be playing Azeez Al-Shaair. I said earlier last year, they shouldn't be playing with a sprained elbow. That's like a 2 to 4 week injury. And a grade 3 sprain for Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's going to be playing this week, potentially. What are we doing? Do you know what a grade 3 sprain is? Look it up. It's bad. I talked about it here in the video. Horrible. So anyways, we are back. My mic is crapping out, but thank you, Lunar Mystic, for letting me know. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it for letting me know that my mic has been crapping out. But no, in all seriousness, what's going on? I don't know what's going on with the 49ers, man. They're still going to make the playoffs. I don't care what anyone says. They're going to make the playoffs. I already said it like 4 weeks ago that there's going to be 3 NFC West teams making the postseason play, and the expanded 14-team playoff. I also said that the Colts were going to be the one team that no one wants to play in the AFC, and the Niners are going to be the other in the NFC. Here we are today. Said this a month ago. Also said that the Rams would, don't be surprised if they win the NFC West and the Cardinals fall. And then people, oh, what are you talking about? No Cardinals? Oh, this is a joke. Your predictions are a joke. And where are they now? They unfollowed me. I don't know why. I didn't call them out or anything like that. My man Lunar Mystic says Niners need to get Mark Uyama back. Yeah, Mark Uyama, that's my boy. Talked to him on Christmas. Ui's my boy. Ui is my boy. And, well, you know, hey, that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna say I disagree. I agree. I think they should never have let go of my guy, Ui. Or, for that matter, Fergie. Jeff Ferguson. You guys know who Jeff Ferguson is? He was with the Niners forever. Talking about David Hawley, he was back there, I believe, during his time there. But anyways, Jeff, they let Fergie go, and Fergie's now with Jacksonville and GM Trent Baalke. His first year there this year. So my man, Fergie, congratulations to you, my man. Love Fergie, love Uwe, love them both. Good guys, good people. You ever see them on the street? They're more than happy to talk to you. Telling you. But yeah, it's really, hey, strengthening. We talk about it, man. Like, let's put it this way. There's people who are in positions that shouldn't be in their positions. But it happens everywhere. I'm sure you at work, you have people at work and be like, man, how did this guy get this job? Like, really? Like, or how did this, like, she doesn't even know the basic. Like, how did she, oh, well, she knows somebody. Oh, so it's narcissism and nepotism. It's narcissism and nepotism that's going on. Cool story. Happens everywhere. It's not all about what you know as opposed to who you know a lot of times. And it works in your favor and can work against you. So it's just the way life works. Now, is it fair? No, but life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. That's why with coaching staffs, and I talked about it with one of my good friends who bless his heart, is coaching in the SEC playoff. We talked about this, narcissism and nepotism. We talked about this and how he's like, hey, Beast, what are your thoughts on you know, the NFL and things that are going on with some of the players that are playing and some who aren't? And I'm like, yeah, look. And I told him the story about Andrew Tiller. And if you guys don't know that Andrew Tiller story that I broke on CBS Sports Radio, when I had my own segment on CBS Sports Radio, I said Andrew Tiller should be freaking starting. He should be starting. And this is under the Tom Sula era. No one was reporting this. No one. Go Google it. And it said Andrew Chiller should be starting. They're like, who's Andrew Chiller? I was like, dude, he's a practice squad player. But he should be starting. He's freaking beating the crap out of all the defensive linemen out there. Okay. And this is a time where I was like, on board with PFF and even PFF. Okay. Check this out. Practice squad player put this out on CBS Sports Radio. That following week, he goes from the practice squad to the active roster, not only to the active roster, to starting against the New York Giants. Literally look it up. Ported it on CBS Sports Radio. Then I doubled down on that, and then PFF goes, oh man, this guy is the highest graded interior guard, or one of the highest graded interior guards in the NFL. Literally. So don't take my word for it. PFF said the same thing back in 2015. Hey, there's this is like narcissism, nepotism, man. There's coaches that shouldn't be coaching, and you're looking at it like, well, that's because it's his son. Okay. Same thing with jobs. No matter where you are, whether it be NFL media, whether it be in sports, whether it be at work, there's always narcissism and nepotism, and they get ahead. And I'm not saying everyone, obviously. Like I said, it can work in your favor. It can work against. You could be really good at your job and just happen to be a relative. I mean, that happens too. I'm not saying it happens like that all the time, but it does happen. To say it doesn't happen, you'd be naive. You'd be like, nah, man, like it happens. I mean, for instance, I'm about to go to the gym. And the managers should not be managers. Like they shouldn't. And like, who am I to say? No, man. There's other people who kind of say the same thing. And it's not like just one or two people. It's like literally like 75% of the people will be like, yeah, he really doesn't do anything. Like, for instance, should a guy should anyone be harassed at the gym? If someone says harassed at the gym by one of your employees and says, I'm going to smack the crap out of you for no reason, you don't know this person. If someone said that at work, you would be like, oh no, you're fired. Like, why did you say, like, why would you, do you know this? No. Why would you say that? Oh, because you have a big ego, because you're a personal trainer. Like, why would you say that? See, stuff like, and then, oh, didn't happen. Oh, no. Or it did happen, but I don't want it in writing. Can we discuss in person? Doesn't work that way. Literally, that's the stuff that goes on. Anyways, narcissism, nepotism happens all the time. All the time. So, with that being said, yeah, whether it's coaching, whether it's with players or anything like that, yeah, it happens. But it can work in your favor too. So I'm not hating. It just happens. It's life. Let's get to some of your other questions, and now I got to head out. All right. So another question. We got a fitness question. How do I develop rear delts and shoulders and traps? Good question. Well, that's kind of a loaded question. But for rear delts, I like to use the pec deck machine. If you guys don't know what a pec deck machine, you guys can go, I don't know, Google it. You can find anything on Google. No, it's basically a fly machine, and it's called a pec deck machine or pec deck fly machine, whatever it is. And what happens is when you use a pec deck, obviously when you're doing that type of motion, usually you're sitting against your back is against. You're sitting back against it, but if you're going to use your rear delts, you want to do it the other way. So you want to face the machine and then pull back this way. So you bring the clips down and in, and then you can grip it however you want to grip it, whatever you're most comfortable with, and then you pull outward. I like doing it this way, like riding a bike and then pulling outward like this. That works your rear delt. You can also do shoulder shrugs. That works your shoulders. Shrugs, just get dumbbells or curl bar or whatever and just go up and down. You see a lot of people rotating their shoulders over. That's horrible. That's first of all, that's bad form. And secondly, when you're doing that, you're overcompensating. So when you go like this and you see people like shrugging like this, it's like, dude, what are you doing? This is not the strongest man competition on ESPN where you're lifting kegs, right, dude? Like, you don't go like this and be like, oh yeah, like, and then they're like stiff. Like, nah, man. What you want to do is you want to, I always say, keep it down and keep it relaxed and down. All right. So you want to pull back. How do I do it? Anyways, so you see people, see how I roll my shoulders over? And you see that? You don't want to do that. You want to keep it down and relax. And then you want to just naturally go up like this instead of hua, hua, hua. Like, what are you doing? So that's what I do. You can do shoulder shrugs. You can do my favorite, which is lateral flies. So you get dumbbells, and I can post some of these workouts. It's on my Instagram if you guys want. I used to post more workout videos, and I could post them on Twitter. I guess some of you guys want it on Twitter, but Fitspiration, if a lot of you guys follow me for fitness, I have like 8,000 something followers. A lot of you guys, I would say 77,000 of you guys follow me for my fitness grind. So I do football and fitness. That's why you see the BWF logo, obviously, because I compete. But yeah, so I'll post some videos up for you when it comes to shoulders. I'm going to be doing chest today and legs. Hurt my rotator cuff, so I really can't work out on shoulders, but I do my best, what I can. So I'll post some chest workouts, obviously. We just talked about the pec deck. You can do that with flies, and that really works on the chest. One thing you want to do when you do pec deck and when you do flies is you see people... Again, I don't know how... I don't know. All right, anyways. You want to squeeze. You want to contract the muscle, right? You want to squeeze and feel that blood flow. Because if you don't feel that blood flow, you're not going to get that pump. You're always chasing the pump. If you're not chasing the pump, you're not getting gains in. So you want to chase that pump. And you really got to be focused on it. So that's why I always suggest, okay, well, if you're going to go into the gym, you want to eat well before you go in. You want to take a good pre-workout. And then you want to let that settle before stepping foot inside the gym and then getting your gains in. Because if you don't do those 3 steps, you're basically leaving your gains on the table. And that's why when I coach or when I tell my clients or athletes to say, hey, look, you have to eat before you work out. You're not going to be doing this on an empty stomach unless you're doing fasted cardio or a fasted workout, which is rare. You're going to want some oatmeal in your body, all right? You're going to want some brown sugar in your body, all right? Because you're going to be glycogen depleted. So you need a strong, fast-acting storage form of carbohydrate. Now, you talk to any strength coach, they're going to be like, nah, this stuff is whack. Other coaches, they'd be like, oh, yeah, makes sense. You got to keep up with the times. You have to adapt or you die. There's a lot of people who are just set in their ways and they're old school and they don't believe in fasted cardio. Look, I believe in it all. I believe in learning. That's what I believe in. Constantly growing, constantly learning. So that's what you do. All right. People want to know what I eat. So I eat egg whites. You can eat 12 egg whites. It's a lot of food, but you can eat 12 egg whites. No yolk. Just go to Costco. Get the egg whites. Boom. I just drink it out of the carton. You guys seen me do it on here on the BEASTwriter Family. It's good stuff. Good stuff. So a lot of stuff that you can do. But more importantly, when you work out, just make sure that you're using the right proper movements. I don't want to see any of you guys get injured because during the New Year's resolution time, everyone gets hurt. Literally, everyone gets hurt. I see people at the gym. I see people getting tours right now. And I'm like, man, I really hope this guy gets a personal trainer or ask somebody how to use specific machines or dumbbells. Or you can't just look off your app and be like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. Okay, let's go. It's like, nah, man, like you're going to hurt yourself. Professional athletes, football players, I see it all the time when they try to post their Instagram videos. I'm like, dude, why are you doing ab crunches off of a boxing punching bag? Like first of all, your kinetic chain is thrown off. You're throwing out your back. You're not activating the core at all. What are we doing? What are we doing? Makes no sense. Anyways, but what do I know? Well, this is what I know. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you liked what I had to say. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Tell Truth Thursday. I'll be hopping back on a live stream tomorrow, posting the Cincinnati, Alabama live stream. Thank you so much once again. Have a good day. I might hop back on later today, depending on how much time I have on, but got to get my gains in first. All right, take care. Have a good night. BEASTwriter out.